working with Nick has been life-changing in a very, very positive way. To be honest, I thought I was doing pretty well. I was running a fairly successful small business, operating at a fairly high level, and I thought I was where I was supposed to be at the time. But really, Nick helped me see the bigger picture and aspire to bigger and better things. I've always wanted a Porsche, and since starting working with Nick, that dream has come true. But the main thing there is that I realized that the car isn't really a definition of who I am. I always thought that getting the car would help make my life better and would elevate me and give me more respect. But Nick made me realize it's me who makes the car cool. What has shifted the most since I started working with Nick? My relationship with my wife has really increased in quality a lot. My relationship with my wife and children was always fantastic. I was always really happy with it. But Nick helped me iron out a few kinks there. And what I'm talking about there is my anger issues. I have suffered from anger for a long time. And the main difference that Nick taught me was this kind of pattern interrupt and allowing me to take a step back, calm down, and then see what's going on and not be so reactive. This has actually transformed both my personal and professional life. So with customers, I always tended to be fairly reactive as well. If I would get a text from a customer or a complaint or anything like that, I would tend to take it very personally and take it to heart. I've learned to let it go and just understand it's a part of life and it's kind of business. I don't take things so personally anymore. He's helped me see the bigger picture and helped mold me into the person who I want to become rather than who I am. One thing that's really changed in how I operate day to day is being able to spot those little habits or thought patterns, I suppose, before they become an issue, slipping back into old habits. One minor thing is I used to bite my nails, and since working with Nick, I've stopped. Now, what's really interesting here is this wasn't a conscious thing that I decided to stop biting my nails. One day, I just realized, oh, wow, my nails have grown. One thing that I want to touch upon is how much calmer I am under pressure with customers. I had a difficult customer not long ago, and there was a time when I really would have reacted to that. I was able to see this customer for who he was, recognize the kind of person he was, and sort out the situation. I gave him his money back, or I gave him a partial refund. And I realized that was just the cost of doing business, and don't take it personal. I just was like, let it go. Same thing with little comments that used to irritate me. I used to get triggered a lot. That somehow has almost stopped. My personal work on anger and managing anger is still ongoing, but I've started journaling, I've started writing and reflecting, and I think the journaling has been a real game changer, so much so that I now quite enjoy it. I've lost probably 15 kilos since starting working with Nick. I've tried losing weight in the past, and Nick didn't give me a workout routine or a diet or anything like that. I did that all myself, but it didn't seem like work. It just kind of happened so naturally, so organically. And now what's interesting is I don't crave those bad foods that I used to. I used to stress eat a lot. And I think I was holding on to so much stress, and I was holding on to all that weight. Your exterior reflects your inside, so to speak, your mental state, your health. And I'm performing physically and mentally at a much higher level than I used to. I'm 39 years old, and I feel and look better than I did when I was 30 or 25. So for years, I've been talking to Nick about doing YouTube, about doing a podcast, and I think he really pushed me and motivated me to do it. So now this is my podcast studio, and I'm really hoping that it grows and becomes something big. But like I said, that comes back to what Nick would talk to me about in imagining and visualizing and dreaming, for so to speak, of what could be, and not to settle for where I am. Now, sometimes it is a bit much. Nick does ask me to do things that I find challenging, exercises that I find challenging, and thoughts that I find challenging. I don't want to deal with them. But I suppose from discomfort, that's where you grow. No one got big muscles by lifting light weights, so to speak. The growth comes from the discomfort. But really, the magic in all of this has been how seamless working with Nick has been. If I just think back to myself, what I was like a few years ago and now, I'm a very different person. So much so that I've had very close friends say to me how I'm a much calmer and more relaxed and a cooler person than I used to be. I've lost that hot-headedness, which I suppose was a part of my personality. I was known amongst my friends and family for being the hot-headed guy, but now I'm almost known as the cool guy who doesn't care, who remains calm under pressure and conflict. So that's been cool. My identity has shifted. Recently, I've been working a lot on minimalism in terms of simplification of my life. I had, I suppose, emotional attachments to a lot of possessions, whether that be cars, stereo stuff, cameras, things like that. I love my gadgets. And in getting rid of them, I was worried that I was losing a part of myself or losing a sense of my identity. That I've sold so many of my possessions and simplified my life. Don't get me wrong, there's still a lot more to do. But from that simplification, there comes peace and space to think and room to breathe, which has been just amazing. Now, I do have a lot of work to do with Nick, and don't get me wrong, it is quite difficult at times. That accountability and that making me think is good. It gets me thinking about it. Who is this kind of work for? I'm going to be honest, it's not for everyone, but I think if you're at a place in your life where you want to grow as a person, you want to grow your business, you want to be less stressed. You want to be a better friend, a better husband, a better father. And you're willing to put in the work and understand that change isn't instant. You're not going to have one session with Nick and then magically be a completely different person. If you understand those things and go into it with an open mind, I think you're the ideal person. From a spiritual or religious aspect, I don't think that matters or is important. Working with Nick has been very religiously agnostic because I believe in God and I'm a somewhat practicing Muslim. But working with Nick has not been conflicting in any way. I know that some people perhaps are wary for that reason. So it's important to point out is not anything you need to be worried about. Check me out on Instagram at Obsession Car Detailing and Saad on Cars. That's everything. Thanks.